I do have a couple of questions for for the chairman, Mr. Steil. Mr. Morelle had mentioned, I think it was that we were, there was claims about not having a military, I think it was military, a woman who needs to change her name, or anyone who changes their names in natural disasters, that we are somehow impeding them from voting. And I was wondering if maybe you could dispel some of those claims.
So anyone, regardless of sex, gender, color, creed, can obtain a driver's license. Anyone, regardless of sex, can obtain a birth certificate. Anyone, regardless of sex, could obtain a Social Security card or other documentary proof of citizenship. So if an individual goes through to change their name, they would get an updated state-issued ID. They may update their Social Security card. So the process in this instance, as it relates to documentary proof for voting, would mirror those changes.
So that in no way impedes like the claims were made, that would impede their ability to vote?
It would not, in the context that it's the same process that we would go through for other actions when an individual would change their name.
Thank you very much. And in my state, Minnesota is one of the states that allows illegal immigrants to obtain driver's licenses and other state IDs. And can you talk about more about why states like Minnesota are increasingly difficult to root out non-citizen voting when they're allowing non-citizens to get those IDs that are necessary for voting?
Well, obviously, I'm not only so nuanced on the state of Minnesota's election laws, but states obviously that have photo ID. Photo ID in particular, an individual that has a driver's license where the state gives driver's licenses to illegal immigrants would not be able to utilize that as a mechanism to determine citizenship. And again, under HAVA, the congressionally passed law, states aren't allowed to require proof of citizenship. And that comes from a Supreme Court case, Arizona versus Intertribal, that says the HAVA law preempts state law and prevents states from checking proof of citizenship. It's why this legislation is so essential to not only allow states to confirm citizenship of a voter, but to require states to obtain proof of citizenship from a voter. And so as the United States has countless individuals who are here both legally and illegally as non-citizens, has grown dramatically. This is an opportunity for us to make sure that we're protecting the integrity of U.S. elections for U.S. citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And
I'm sorry, may I just
Morelle?
respond on the military? So if you're in the United States military and you try to register, your military ID will no longer be sufficient. You'll have to bring your military record with you, which shows your place of birth. But if your place of birth was outside the United States, you could still be a U.S. citizen. You could have either been born abroad to U.S. citizens, or if you were born in Germany and came to the United States as a child and became a U.S. citizen and served in the military. Now you'd have to show your military ID, your military service record, which doesn't show you having been born in the United States. Now you got to get additional information that demonstrates you're a U.S. citizen. This is for someone who's serving in the military, who's a U.S. citizen, to have to go through 3 or 4 documentary pieces of evidence just to register to vote in the United States. Is that what we want in this country? Is that the kind of barriers we're going to put in front of people? And frankly, you'd have to go to a council, get a counselor report of birth abroad if that was the case. It's just expensive. It's those kind of barriers. Right now, you go with your driver's license or your military ID. It ought to be sufficient to register to vote, particularly when you're asserting that you are indeed a U.S. citizen. That's required.
Chairman Steil, you want to respond?
I think it's important to note that while that would be one mechanism of showing your documentary proof of citizenship, showing a U.S. military ID together with U.S. military service record, showing the applicant's place of birth, that would be one option an individual could utilize to demonstrate documentary proof of citizenship. Obviously, a valid U.S. passport, a real ID with citizenship indicated on it, but also in this legislation, we set forward a path for the Elections Assistance Commission to set up a structure to allow additional mechanisms to provide proof of citizenship. And so what I mean by that is making sure that we're providing access to U.S. databases that can confirm citizenship of an individual, providing that at no cost and in near real-time opportunity.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you for bringing the bill forward, and Mr. Roy, thank you very much, because I hear it more often than not, that constituents are asking for election integrity, and I appreciate that you brought this forward. And I know that there's a lot of conspiracy theories that are being discussed from the other side, but I think that we need to be looking at election integrity, and I appreciate you bringing it forward.